Before this story pulls you under, hit subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment, because once you step inside Angola Prison, there's no turning back. The sirens cut through the Louisiana heat just before dawn, in the cane fields surrounding Angola Prison, fields that stretched farther than the eye could see. Guards stood frozen as state police sealed off a narrow dirt road. Between rows of tall, rustling sugarcane lay a body, face down, partially hidden by morning fog. No signs of escape, no signs of a struggle that made sense, and no clear explanation for how an inmate ended up there at all. Angola Prison wasn't just another correctional facility. Officially known as the Louisiana State Penitentiary, it sat on 18,000 acres of former plantation land, surrounded on three sides by the Mississippi River. It was designed to keep people in and keep secrets buried. When something went wrong at Angola, it didn't stay quiet for long. And this time, something had gone very wrong. The inmate was identified as Calvin Brooks, serving a life sentence with no parole. By prison records, Brooks was accounted for during the 10 p.m. count the night before. By morning, he was dead outside the perimeter. The gates hadn't been breached. No alarms had gone off. No cameras showed him leaving. To Warden Ellis Moreau, a man who had spent his career managing the delicate balance between order and chaos, the situation felt familiar in the worst way. Angola had a long memory. Every unexplained incident added another chapter to its reputation. A reputation that stretched back decades, marked by violence, control, and an unspoken rule. What happens inside stays inside. Detective Renee Carter arrived hours later, her boots sinking into soft earth as she surveyed the scene. She had investigated crimes across Louisiana, but Angola was different. The prison operated like a small, isolated town with its own economy, hierarchy, and justice system. Outsiders were tolerated, not welcomed. Carter crouched near the body, careful not to disturb anything. There were no visible injuries that explained how Brooks died. No blood, no broken bones. Just a stillness that felt deliberate. "Doesn't look like an escape attempt," she said quietly. A senior corrections officer shook his head. He knew better. Nobody runs from Angola. That sentence lingered in the air longer than anyone wanted to admit. Inside the administration building, Carter reviewed Brooks' file. He wasn't a troublemaker. No recent disciplinary actions. No known enemies. But one detail stood out. 3 days before his death, Brooks had requested a private meeting with internal oversight. The request was logged, but the meeting never happened. When Carter asked why, the room fell silent. "Scheduling issue," someone finally said. Carter didn't buy it. As the day wore on, rumors spread through the cell blocks. Inmates whispered that Brooks had seen something. Others claimed he'd been talking too much. Angola had its own code, enforced not just by inmates, but by the environment itself. People learned quickly what not to ask, what not to notice, and who not to cross. Carter requested surveillance footage from the night Brooks disappeared. The prison complied, almost too easily. Hours of clean, uninterrupted video showed Brooks entering his cell, sitting on his bunk and lying down. Then nothing. No movement. No exit. But Carter noticed something strange. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the camera feed froze for 9 seconds. 9 seconds was an eternity in a place like Angola. "System glitch," the technician said. "Does that happen often?" Carter asked. "Not usually." Carter leaned back, folding her arms. "Run it again." The technician hesitated, then replayed the footage. Same freeze. Same timestamp. Same 9 seconds. Carter requested footage from adjacent corridors. Those cameras also glitched, only for a few seconds, only at the same moment. That wasn't coincidence. Late that evening, Carter walked the perimeter road near the cane fields. The river rolled slowly in the distance, dark and heavy. Angola had been built to erase hope, to make time irrelevant. Many inmates who arrived here knew they would die here. That knowledge changed people. It also made them dangerous in unexpected ways. A veteran guard approached Carter, keeping his voice low. "You didn't hear this from me," he said, but Brooks wasn't scared of inmates. He was scared of the system. "What system?" Carter asked. The guard looked around. then leaned closer. "The one that's been here longer than any of us." Before Carter could press him, another officer interrupted. "Detective, you need to see this." They led her to a secured storage room beneath the main administration wing. Inside, stacked among old records and unused equipment, was a sealed evidence box. Carter recognized the label immediately. It was Brooks' name, but the date on the box was wrong. It was logged 6 months earlier. Carter's pulse quickened, because that meant someone had been collecting evidence on Calvin Brooks long before the night he died. And whatever Brooks discovered inside Angola Prison, someone had been waiting for him to discover it. By sunrise, the evidence box was gone. Detective Renee Carter stood in the same storage room beneath the administration wing, staring at the empty metal shelf where Calvin Brooks' name had been stenciled in fading black ink. The lock hadn't been forced. The door hadn't been tampered with. According to the logbook, no one had entered the room overnight. Someone had erased the evidence without leaving a trace. Warden Ellis Morrow listened as Carter laid out what she'd found, his expression tightening with every word. Angola was built to contain chaos, but this felt different. This felt deliberate. "You're saying someone inside my facility manipulated records and surveillance," Morrow said carefully. "That's a serious accusation." "I'm saying it's already happened," Carter replied. "And Brooks knew it." Morrow hesitated, then nodded toward a senior aide. "Pull Brooks' work assignments. All of them. And I want a list of every staff member who had access to that storage room in the last year." The list came back longer than expected. Brooks had worked maintenance. It was one of the few roles that allowed limited movement between buildings. According to logs, he'd been assigned to inspect wiring near the old infirmary, an abandoned structure sealed off after budget cuts and quietly forgotten. Carter requested access immediately. The infirmary sat at the far edge of the compound, its windows dark, its paint peeling under decades of humidity. Inside, the air smelled of rust and dust. Broken gurneys lined the walls. Old medical charts lay scattered across the floor like discarded memories. Then Carter saw it. Behind a loose panel near the former records room was a narrow corridor not marked on any official map. The floor was clean, recently swept. At the end of the hallway stood a reinforced steel door, newer than anything around it. "This place was decommissioned years ago," Carter said. "So why does it look active?" The door was locked. No signage. No documentation. Before Carter could push further, a call crackled over the radio. "Detective, we got a problem." One of the guard from last night's shift, Officer Daniel Hargreave, never checked out. Hargreave's locker was still open. His uniform hung neatly inside. His badge was missing. By the time state police widened the search, whispers spread fast. Inmates spoke of a guard who asked too many questions. Staff quietly avoided eye contact. Angola's silence was closing in. Carter reviewed Hargreaves' personnel file. Clean record. 12 years of service. But something stood out. He'd sign off on multiple maintenance access requests tied to Brooks. Requests that should have required higher approval. When Carter tracked down Hargreaves' last known location, it led her back to the infirmary. The steel door was now open. Inside was a cramped room lined with servers, old monitors, and recording equipment. Red lights blinked softly in the darkness. Surveillance feeds played silently, showing angles Carter had never seen before. Cells, hallways, interview rooms, even staff-only corridors. This wasn't standard prison security. "This is off the books," Carter whispered. One monitor displayed archive footage labeled only with dates. She scrolled back 6 months and froze. There was Calvin Brooks, seated alone in a room, speaking calmly to someone off camera. "I didn't know it was still running," Brooks said on the screen. "I thought they shut it down." A voice replied, distorted but authoritative. "We never shut it down. We just stopped telling people about it." Carter felt a chill. Brooks wasn't confessing to a crime. He was reporting something. Suddenly, the feed cut to black. Behind her, footsteps echoed. Carter spun around, hand instinctively moving to her weapon. But it was Warden Morrow, his face pale. "You weren't supposed to find this," he said quietly. Before Carter could respond, alarms blared across the compound. Red lights flashed. Radios erupted with overlapping voices. Inmate disturbance in cell block C. Unauthorized access detected. System breach. Multiple cameras offline. The prison was unraveling in real time. As officers rushed past them, Morrow closed a steel door, locking it from the inside. "This facility has survived because it adapts," he said. "Sometimes that means making decisions people don't understand." "You mean covering them up?" Carter shot back. Morrow met her gaze. "You don't know what Brooks uncovered, and you don't know what it would do if it got out." Before Carter could demand answers, the power cut out completely. In the darkness, emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in an eerie red glow. Then Carter heard it. A voice crackled through an old speaker system, one that wasn't supposed to exist. "If you're hearing this," the voice said calmly, "then it's already too late to stop what's coming." Carter recognized the voice instantly. It was Officer Daniel Hargreave, and he wasn't missing. He was broadcasting from somewhere inside Angola Prison. The emergency lights cast long shadows across the hidden room as Officer Daniel Hargreave's voice echoed through the ancient speaker system. Calm, measured, almost relieved. "I tried to stop it the right way," the voice said. "Now I'm stopping it the only way left." Detective Renee Carter felt the weight of the moment press into her chest. Somewhere inside Angola Prison, a man officially listed as missing was in control of the system no one was supposed to know existed. Warden Ellis Morrow reached for the radio, but it was dead. Whatever Hargreave had activated had cut communications across the compound. "You built this," Carter said, her voice steady but sharp. "Didn't you?" Morrow didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, the confidence that once defined him was gone. "This prison was collapsing long before I arrived. Violence, corruption, lawsuits. Angola was becoming unmanageable. The system was created to predict problems before they happened." "By spying on everyone?" Carter asked. "By listening," Morrow replied. "Inmates, guards, administrators, everyone." The truth snapped into place. The off-the-book surveillance wasn't about security. It was about control. Conversations recorded, patterns tracked, threats neutralized quietly. People like Calvin Brooks, men who noticed the system, who understood it, became liabilities. Brooks hadn't tried to escape Angola. He'd tried to expose it. A sudden burst of shouting erupted over the distant corridors. The inmate disturbance was spreading. Cell block C was locked down, but panic moved faster than steel doors. When people sensed chaos at the top, it rippled downward. Hargreave's voice returned, louder now, echoing across multiple speakers. "They told me it was for safety," he said. "They said it would save lives. But when Brooks brought me proof, when he showed me how evidence was altered, how people were silenced, I realized the truth." Carter moved toward the door. "Where are you, Hargreave?" A pause. Then, where it started, the old execution wing. Long and used, sealed off decades earlier, it sat at the heart of Angola, like a scar that never healed. By the time Carter and a tactical unit reached the wing, the prison was on the edge of full lockdown. Guards lined the corridors, weapons drawn, faces tense. No one spoke unless necessary. Inside the execution chamber, the air was cold and stale. Old machinery sat under tarps, frozen in time. And there, standing beside a control console wired into the hidden surveillance network, was Daniel Hargreave. He didn't run. "I knew you'd come," he said calmly. "Where's the evidence?" Carter demanded. Hargreave gestured to a stack of drives on the table. "Every recording, every altered report, every name." Morrow stepped forward. "You have no idea what releasing that will do." "I do," Hargreave said. "And so did Brooks. That's why they killed him." The room fell silent. Carter's eyes locked on Morrow. "You said Brooks died without injuries." Morrow's jaw tightened. "Stress. Heart failure." "No," Hargreave said. "They locked him in a room designed to erase people. No cameras, no witnesses. And when I threatened to talk, I became the next problem." Sirens wailed outside as state authorities arrived. Called anonymously just minutes earlier. "You already sent it out," Carter realized. Hargreave nodded. multiple outlets, encrypted, timed releases. Morrow lunged to the console, but it was too late. Screens lit up across the room, confirming uploads in progress. As officers moved in to arrest both men, Hargreave looked at Carter one last time. Angola didn't become infamous because of the inmates, he said quietly. It became infamous because of what it learned to hide. Weeks later, investigations rocked the Louisiana prison system. Officials resigned. Programs were suspended. Angola was placed under federal review. The public believed they now knew the truth. But 3 months after the case closed, a maintenance worker discovered something strange while repairing a wall near the infirmary. A sealed camera, still recording, still live. No one could explain who was monitoring it or why it had never been disconnected. And somewhere deep inside Angola Prison, a red light continued to blink in the darkness, watching silently as if waiting. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one, hit subscribe so you don't miss it.